I have Gabbi Tuft here with me. We're going to be talking a little bit about your pro wrestling career, what you've been up to since you announced your in-ring retirement a few years ago, which it looks like you're teasing maybe considering a return to the ring. Uh, Tell me more about
Been
that. What's going on?
teasing's a good word. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't have any interest in going back to wrestling after I left. Thought I was done with it permanently. And in August, the New York Times did an article on me, and they
Mhm.
thought it would be the reporter thought it'd be kind of interesting to take me back to an arena for the first time in 11 years and just be there as I walked back in for the first time and get the emotion and everything. I did not expect to miss it as much as I did. I walked in, and it was August, so 4 months ago,
Mhm.
and my heart just like exploded with like overwhelming nostalgia. And I saw like my friends that I was in WWE with performing, the Usos were leading the show, and I'm just like, oh my God, I miss this. And ever since then, it's been kind of on my higher priority list to kind of explore what options are available or what I might be
Mhm.
interested in doing if I were to come back to the ring.
And you just happen to pick MSG of all places.
Just
I'm sh
happened to
Yeah.
pick MSG. To be dead honest, it was a total coincidence with timing. And when
Mhm.
the reporter wanted to do the article, and he's like, Gabby, SmackDown's in town. They're at MSG.
Mhm.
Do you want to go? Like, yeah, let's do it. And they just, that's how it happened. I think it was just universal divinity and everything lined up. And there I am in a packed 15,000 person house. We're
Mhm.
just off the floor, some perfect view of the ring. Just could hear and see everything and feel,
Mhm.
all the excitement, the energy from the crowd. So that was just, it was absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah, I've kind of followed your story since you announced you were transitioning. So I know a little bit about what's been going on. Not, I know you have a lot more stuff going on your Instagram page.
Sure.
So I saw that you stopped by Dustin Rhodes' school not too long ago. I don't know when that was filmed, but it was posted in the past few weeks.
It was posted days after I was there.
Okay, so did being there, because obviously at MSG you were in the crowd, being in a wrestling ring, literally, did that wake anything else up? Or like, have you tried
Yeah.
maybe considering it on a higher level?
I went there with an intent. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
It was a cordial conversation with Dustin, but I went there with an intent to kind of poke around and see if I really wanted to get back in the ring. And the second I kicked my leg over the middle rope and stepped inside, everything just ignited again. Dustin was so sweet too. He's such a nice guy. Goldie's him and I have been buddies since I was on the roster, and he
Hmm.
was actually one of the guys that helped me a ton. Like he was the one who took the first Burning Hammer or my version of the Burning Hammer for me
Hmm.
when I was coming back as a heel, and they were set to kind of debut me again. And Arn Anderson's at the ring. He's my producer, and he goes, "Hey, Vince wants to know what your finisher is. Do you have one?" I said, "Yeah, I got it. I got one." And Goldie goes, "Well, what is it?" I kind of explain it to him. He's like,
Hmm.
"Okay, I'll take it. Are you going to kill me?" I'm like, "No, you'll be fine." He goes, "Okay." And so I did it. And everybody around the ring's like, "Oh my God, Goldie, are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm fine. No problem." And it was easy. So he's the one who kind of helped me, get into the position I was at when I was actually on bragging rights and a couple other pay-per-views from that point on. But he was so nice. We hadn't talked really since I transitioned. And he
Hmm.
just walks over, sits on the rope like a gentleman, lets me in the ring. And I was like, oh, that's what that's like. That's different. I'm not used to that. So to just kind of go along with that and just fall into, who I am now, it literally like the fireworks went off in my head. I was like, God, yeah, I need to see what I can do here. So we talked for a little bit and I talked to Terrell, his wife,
Hmm.
and we're kind of kicking some ideas around on what it would take to get the ring rust off me.
You don't live too far from Austin, right?
No, I'm in a little city called Leander. It's about
Okay.
35 minutes northwest of Austin. It's perfect.
Okay. So anytime you maybe want to train, it's a little
It's
bit of a car
close.
ride. It's right there.
Yeah, no, and I'm not going to say where the school is, but I can tell you it's
Yeah.
closer than we think. It's not even 30-minute drive for me. It's very easy for me to get over there. So
Mhm.
if I were to go resume training, hypothetically, of course, if I were to go resume training, it'd be very easy for me to do it many times a week and have a very fast improvement.
You mentioned the burning hammer. That's such a, I don't want to say polarizing, but it's one that was rarely seen in WWE. Kenta Kobashi used it, so
Uh,
international fans are used to seeing it. But did you take any sort of pride, or did you have any sort of feelings on being one of the few that got a chance to use that in WWE?
Oh, of course. Yeah, Kobashi, like it was actually Trent Beretta when we were back
Mhm.
in Florida Championship Wrestling and development. I was looking for a finisher. He's like, "Why don't you do a burning hammer?" And I'm like, "What?"
Mhm.
I'm all, we can't. Like somebody's gonna die, you know? And he goes, "Well, let's do something different." And it was like
Yeah.
literally it's the whole thing was Trent's idea. And he goes, "Well, just sit out DDT me." I go, "Oh, okay, let's try it." And so Trent, we had a crash pad out, we tried it, and we're like, "Oh, that's something." And then Doc Pritchard walks in. He's like, "What are you guys doing?" And showed him. He's like, "Yeah, that's pretty cool." So it was just like it happened in 5 minutes. Fandango, Kurt Hussey was there.
Mhm.
And we were all just kind of goofing. And they're like, "Yeah, you need to use that." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So that's how it came around. So to know that it was, it's not the original Burning Hammer, obviously, because when you drop people on their heads in WWE, they don't like it. So we needed to modify it slightly, and that's where the sit out DDT came from.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a little pride in that to know that nobody else was doing anything remotely close to that, and that had been borrowed from like one of the biggest international stars in the
Mhm.
business.
You mentioned Fandango. Uh, that's one of the cool things about this journey is seeing your roster mates, your friends from that era, still having your back. I know Brian Myers is another one of them. You were tag team partners.
Yeah.
Anybody else that you lean on in particular, just to sort of keep
Or
it
like in wrestling or post wrestling, like
uh,
at the transition.
in wrestling, just whether it's to keep a connection with the business or just personally somebody that you found always had a great outlook on life that you could use as a wrestler and now in your post wrestling life.
God, yeah. I mean, I have so many friends that were so helpful. Because remember, when I was getting into the business, I never wrestled before in my life. And, I watched it when I was a kid, but I had zero experience. I was one of the few that just got plucked because of the way I looked and my athleticism. And then I
Mhm.
had to go like crash course everything. So I was kind of one of those guys that was hated at first. And when they figured out like, oh, okay, Rex is a nice guy and, whatever, he's cool. We can let him into the inner circle.
Mhm.
Everything changed. But I mean, I was in development with guys like Tyson Kidd and Natty Neidhart, Fandango, Brian Cage, Lance
Mhm.
Hoyt. Those are all like Bray Wyatt. Like we were all friends. Taylor, like, all really good friends. And when we got up, to the upper levels on TV, guys like Goldust took me under their wing. Chavo was a
Mhm.
huge help to me, and Chavo and I still talk all the time. And Vicky as well, Vicky Guerrero. We chat from time to time, but Chavo and I stay in touch a lot. I did a lot
Mhm.
of house shows with Chavo when I was turning heel, when I was learning how to be a heel.
Mhm.
When I was in FCW, it was like the surfer gimmick thing with like the hey, hang loose and all that stuff. So I
Yeah.
had never once been a heel until I got to TV and they yanked me off because they're like, this ain't working. So Chavo was like, okay, come here, kid. Let me show you everything. So
Mhm.
he had a huge hand. We did a couple of tours together, a lot of house shows, and he just showed me everything. But there were guys like, I worked with Christian on a couple of house shows, and everybody I worked with just learned so much from each person. Arn was a huge help. Fit was another huge help. I would go into, call time would be at like noon for Raw. I think it was like 2 o'clock for SmackDown. But I'd be there at call time. I'd run into the locker room, change real quick, and be out at the ring practicing. And Fit or Arn would be there. And sometimes
Mhm.
like Noble was there a lot too. And I'd just be the one in the ring, like busting my butt, trying to learn as much as possible. And if you ask anybody back then, it was always me in the ring, like me
Mhm.
and Fit, me and Arn, me and Noble, trying to learn. But guys now like Hawkins too, teaming with Hawkins, probably the best move that ever happened to me because that guy's so damn experienced there was nothing I could do wrong. And I did, trust me, I did some stuff wrong.
Mhm.
But he set everything up. I mean, he's like the creative genius behind everything that we ever did. Not that we ever made it to like top, but
Mhm.
as we were starting to slowly climb the ladder, every match was like his little bits of input that just made massive differences. And him and I still talk all the time. And
Mhm.
actually, he responded, I think it was on Instagram or maybe it was Instagram or TikTok when I was kind of teasing, like, I might be interested in coming back. He just goes, "Hey, are we tagging?"
The surfer gimmick, that was Tyler Reks, or was that I see, I remember like when the FCW website, like when we first kind of learned about it as wrestling fans, I remember
Yeah.
going on and seeing like all the different names. Like I think you were Taj Milano at some point.
Horrible.
So
Yeah. So what they did is one day Doc comes to us and he goes, "All right, we got a new assignment from the office. And your job this week is to come up with, I think it was like 10 or 15 first names or 10 or 15 last names and put them in a column next to each other and submit them." We're like, "What?" And like, "Yeah, because we can't use your real names."
mhm.
And so I just came up with like a bunch of first names and a bunch of last names. And they go, okay, well, the Taj is cool and Milano. And they just stuck it together. I'm like, really?
That's
Oh,
I
that's how it works. I mean, I'm no Post Malone by any means, so it lasted about a week.
uh I like, I mean, Tyler Rex, T-Rex, that, you know,
That had some thought in it. I
yeah.
actually I had a conversation with one of my friends who was an owner of a big marketing firm,
Mhm.
and I said, "Hey, look, we're thinking about the name Tyler for the first name for WWE." Because I had told them like this sucks. I got to get a new name. And they're like, Dusty goes, "Okay, go find something."
Mhm.
And I asked him, and he said, "Oh, this is a no-brainer." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Use Rex as the last name, but spell it differently so it's not obvious what you're trying to do." And I asked him, I said, "What am I trying to do?" And he goes, "You're trying to get T-Rex in there." I go, "Oh, thanks, Howard. That's awesome."
Yeah.
So like we changed the spelling and we had T-Rex kind of built in and we spoon fed it without like giving him the whole meal. And so the
Yeah.
audience picked up on it real quick.
Yeah. It's kind of fun thinking back about that because I remember like Heath Slater, I think, was Sebastian Slater for a while. He
Yeah.
had like five different names, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah. We,
you
we had all these crazy ones.
you sort of had this relationship with talent before they made it to TV. So I think that's kind of why that sort of era of all the people we're talking about sort of still
Yeah.
resonate with me because it
Oh, you're
feels like
talking about
I've,
like FCW and having that
yeah,
that
because I feel like
developmental
I'm
relationship.
almost like on the ride with you all.
Yeah, and kind of wondering who's going to make it to the main
Mhm.
roster and kind of watching the guys come up from being real crappy to being not so crappy.
Mhm. So I know you have coachgabby.com right now. Anything else you have going on that you want to promote? I know we talked wrestling and that's sort of the business side. What else are you doing? I know you do some coaching right now that
I do, yeah.
it's
Yeah,
been pretty fun to watch.
thanks. Yeah. So what I do is I do online personal fitness and nutrition coaching,
Mhm.
and it's shocking. I coach 99% biological females,
Mhm.
which I never imagined, after my transition, that would be the demographic that I work with. But when I opened my books and started doing coaching again, uh, the women just they came to me. I think it's because they saw my story and they knew where I was, where I am now, and I still have all the knowledge from decades of
Mhm.
being in the fitness industry. And I'm a licensed sports nutritionist CPT, but I've got an entire team underneath me. I've got PhDs, I've got master's degrees, I've got people that work with NFL coaches or NFL players. So
Mhm.
my team's it's like the A team. And so what we do is we work on creating new positive behavioral patterns
Mhm.
for the women that I work with. And we're all stuck in cycles,
Mhm.
like we don't even realize the patterns we're in. So we break those patterns, we create new cycles while we're focusing on science-based fitness and nutrition. So that's my coachgabby.com. And yep,
Mhm.
shameless plug, we are accepting new clients. But that being said, other things going on. I have a nonprofit I started.
Mhm.
It's a 501(c)(3). I haven't really pushed it a lot because we're just getting underway. And the
Mhm.
goal there is to help underprivileged members of the trans community that don't have the means that
Mhm.
I do to progress in their medical transition. It's not cheap. spent over six figures doing what I've done, and I'm not done yet. So yeah, I know I saw your eyebrows perk up. You're
Hmm.
like, gave the rock eyebrow right there. So yeah, we're trying to put together a strategy right now to start raising money and start helping the more underprivileged. And I won't say underprivileged, but just people that aren't as far along as I am with finances.
Hmm.
My heart just goes out to them. So that's what's going on there. But yeah, as far as wrestling, it's definitely on the front of my mind. I'm working with Stanford University right now to get clearance. I did have open heart surgery in
Hmm.
July 2019, so
Hmm.
we're reviewing scans currently, and hopefully this week I want to know if I'm 100% cleared to start taking bumps again.
Uh, I'm gonna mess up. It's aortic. What was I?
So it's an ascending aortic aneurysm. So
Thank you.
basically, when the main artery that comes out of the top of the heart, it comes up, takes a hard left turn, and then it feeds the entire body.
Mhm.
It was blowing up like a water balloon and it was going to burst. And so that's if I know this generation probably doesn't remember Three's Company. It was like this
I
big show
do.
in the 80s. Yeah, so Jack Ritter was the main character, one of the main characters. He died from that. It
He was on set
his
with.
yeah, you're dead in like 3 minutes. You bleed out internally.
Mhm.
And my mom had the surgery a year before me.
Mhm.
And so it triggered Stanford to do some scans on me. And that's when they found it. And they're like, yeah, you're about a millimeter away from actually needing surgery. So you can either go through life not lifting weights, going for brisk walks, and not ever spiking your blood pressure. So don't get scared at anything and don't let anybody surprise you.
Mhm.
Or you can come in and just have it done. I go, okay. So I guess I'll go have it done. So they
Mhm.
slapped me on a table, froze my body. They dropped my body temperature like 80 degrees. So my
Wow.
brain wouldn't die. Yeah, so it wouldn't have cellular death. They stopped my heart, deflated my lungs, and then they ran all my blood. They disconnected all my major arteries and they ran it through a machine. It's called perfusion, and it pumps oxygen into the bloodstream to keep my brain alive. So I was like a brain, a frozen brain for 8.5 hours while they operated on me. And they cut out the aorta and they put a graft in, so like a synthetic aorta.
That's insane. I didn't know that it
Yeah,
was that much detail because I've sort of seen some of the stuff you shared over the years. Like I know uh that you could see pictures of like the scar going down, and I know
yeah,
you mentioned like how costly some of the stuff related to your transition are. Like you've
yeah.
kind of shared uh your vocal surgery a couple of months ago. Like
Yep.
I
I
didn't know
mean,
it was
it
that involved.
it
That's
adds up. I mean, when we look at that, so open heart surgery 2019, I've had two breast augmentations. That makes three. I had facial surgery. That's four surgeries. And then I went back for a neck and a facelift because I'd lost so much weight. I just had all this loose skin. I mean, just standing there, I had like four or five chins. It was crazy. And then I went back for vocal surgery uh, in May of this year.
Mhm.
And so what's that, five surgeries, six surgeries, something like that since 2019. It's a lot. It's a lot of money, and it's a lot on the body, which is why I'm
Mhm.
kind of like taking a little hiatus from surgeries, letting my body recover right now.
Mhm. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, all things go well with Stanford.
Yeah.
If everything happens the way you want it to, what are you sort of expecting from, I'm going to call it your next chapter in wrestling?
Uh, I would say I don't want to open that book or give a preview
Mhm.
before it's time. I don't want to let anybody read that book. But if it was a book on a shelf and you pulled it off and you looked at the cover, we already know the cover is really enticing. But you flip it over and you read the summary on the back. Let's just say there's definitely an open door right now,
Mhm.
and it's cracked, but I'm ready to kick it open.
I'm dancing around it too because, obviously you want to tell it on your own time, but
Yeah,
uh,
I don't want to give anything away too soon.
mhm.
I want to make sure that if and when it something actually does happen, that the world is watching.
uh, anything you want to cover before we get out of here?
Go follow me on TikTok and
Mhm.
Instagram. It's at Gabbi Tuft. Twitter is the same thing. Oh, it's now X. I kind of use X every now and then, like,
Mm,
but it's
I,
mainly Instagram and TikTok where I'm at. And that's
It's
it. And CoachGabby.com for online personal fitness and nutrition coaching with me and my team.
it's always going to be Twitter to me. I
I
can't.
know. Like
I
I'm
can't.
trying to say X, but I'm like, nah, it's Twitter.
Mhm. It's not going to change. All right, Gabby, thank you so much for your time today. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it. I look forward to continue following your journey. It's been really exciting to watch. It's been informative for me
Thanks.
personally. So thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Bill, for having me.